So my real cold open question is, what's your favorite sandwich?
Ooh, great question.
Thanks.
Well, there was a sandwich shop in Philadelphia, staying on brand, called, oh my God, I forget the name, but that's because I'm so old and decrepit and my brain doesn't
Sure.
work.
I understand. I'm also old.
I want to say Guccino's, but obviously not. But it's Paisanos.
Oh yeah, Paisanos. You've taken me there before.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
I don't know if they had vegan. They don't seem like vegan friendly, but
I think we went there and there was nothing for me to eat.
yeah, they have a vegetarian thing that I really like, but
maybe
it is. It was a
no. I think we ate.
it was an eggplant parm.
Yes,
that I really
yes,
liked,
yes.
and it had like roasted fennel and stuff. And I used to describe it
Yes.
to people as if construction workers like watch the Food Network.
Okay.
'Cause-
Yeah.
And I
get
guess
it.
now that's a thing with like
Right.
there's like you somehow without searching for it, you'll see like a guy camping and like with one knife and one plank of wood and a fire, he's like making a calzone,
Right.
or something. So maybe the foodie thing has become more wide
Right.
of a net. But anyway, at the time it made sense as a description. Anyway, really gnarly, greasy sandwiches that were just like weird and like interesting, and a lot of broccoli raubs and fennels and things like that.
Totally. Yeah, we did eat there because I was not vegan at the time.
Oh, sweet.
So I'm remembering like vaguely it being really good. Are they more like hoagies?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, I mean
they're long sandwiches.
Yeah, they're long sandwiches. I
Yeah.
mean, it's hard to do a two slices of bread sandwich then do it really well, right? I mean,
Yeah, I guess. But I mean, there's like, the classic clubs and whatnot.
does anyone really like a club sandwich? Like you always
I
think
don't, yeah, I'm sure some people do. Absolutely.
well, you probably haven't had one in a while, but they're always terrible. They like
That seems
100%.
wrong to me.
They're always terrible. You think they're good because they're going to have like ham and turkey and bacon and lettuce and tomato. It's great. And then they stack it. They make the sandwich absurdly high.
Well, that is a problem.
And they put like 4 slices of bread in there and it's like 16 layers of stuff. And then it's so ridiculous, you would never be able to fit the sandwich in your mouth. So they cut it into quarters, which are
Right.
no easier to put in your mouth because
Still
you
the
want to eat the
vertical.
sandwich the same way.
Right.
It makes no sense. They're always too dry. They're always terrible. I'm sticking with that.
Isn't it annoying when you go to like, let's say a burger place and it's like maybe they're a little too fancy on the burgers. It's like too much stuff on them. And then you get it and it's like 6 inches tall.
Mhm.
And it's like, how are you supposed to eat this? I don't want to eat it with a knife and fork. I'm not European.
Well, some might argue with that.
I wasn't raised European.
I'm going to call the Swedish immigration
Oh, shit.
office.
But you know what I mean? Like, what's the point? I think then that's
Yeah.
kind of what one of your complaints
Oh,
with the club sandwich
yeah.
is also the height.
The height, the functionality, the dryness. Anyway, but I also want to give an also ran. I'll give a shout out to the classic chicken parm.
Two pieces of bread.
No, to the what's your
Hoagie.
favorite sandwich?
Oh, okay. Oh,
Sorry.
specific.
Going back.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
At Paisanos?
they don't have a chicken parm. They have an eggplant parm.
Gotcha.
But and you would never do that on 2 pieces of bread. That would be obscene.
I didn't know. I was trying to find the common thread, and it was the thread from before, not the current thread.
My brain was jumping around a little bit.
Yeah, that makes sense. Chicken parm. Is that rare? Not like cooked rare. Is it harder to
I was going to
find?
say I would not recommend that.
No.
but,
Salmonella.
No, I would say as long as you can find a pizza place
Okay.
or
I don't know.
an Italian joint, you should be able to find it. If the Italian joint is a little too fancy, they probably wouldn't put it on a roll.
Gotcha.
They would just give it to you on a pile of biscotti,
Biscotti.
and it would just be like twice as much. You know?
Right. Too much food. I'm trying to think of my favorite sandwich because it's like, vegan sandwiches, it's not really like super exciting. However, I do have a controversial opinion on sandwiches.
Is it sandwiches aren't real?
It's that Jimmy John's makes a great sandwich.
Interesting.
Um,
Are you basing that on smells alone?
well, the smells are free, which is nice. No, it's just like, it's one of those things where like you just have a fond memory of a place
Mm-hmm.
and therefore you like it. And then your brain kind of convinces you that this is the best thing ever. I don't know. The Jimmy John's number 6 is really fucking good.
Sounds like you're arguing against your own case because
I am a little bit, because it is kind of embarrassing. There's also a place in Lawrence, Kansas called Yellow Sub that was also very, very good and kind of similar. It was like hoagie style.
Funny that you reference that. Not funny because you spent a lot of time there, but I'm pretty sure that I've eaten at the Jimmy John's in Lawrence.
On Mass Street.
Yeah.
Definitely. It's
Like-
right by like Jackpot, right by Replay.
Yeah. I think Straylight was a big fan. I believe Michelle even for a while was working on jingles. Like
For
that was
Jimmy
like
John's?
the thing.
Yeah, apparently the owner is a real piece of shit, but
Aren't they all?
yeah, he's like a big game hunter.
Also, side note, well, we can make fun of him for big game hunting, but have you ever sold something on the internet?
Sold something?
Yeah. Sorry. Have you ever advertised something to sell in person on the internet and had
course.
someone come by or met someone or got an email and they said, I'll give you this much. And it was an insultingly low offer, but they
Yes.
said cash in capitals.
Right now.
Yeah, right now.
I'll be there in 10 minutes.
What was your gut instinct of a response to the in cash part of the offer?
No,
Why is that?
because that doesn't change anything for me.
Right. I mean, they're always cash. Like how few offers are there that are check or money order? You know, the cash
Right.
part, it's like, yeah, of course it's cash. That's how I feel about Jimmy John's free smells.
Sure. It's a cute little thing to put in the window. Come on.
I understand
Have a
that,
heart.
but I don't have a heart, so I
Yeah.
react negatively to their free
Interesting
smells
analogy.
advertising.
Interesting
Although
analogy.
I will say, versus Subway, a similar sandwich shop, Subway just smells so strange.
Yeah,
I don't understand that distinct smell that they create.
It doesn't seem like that's the smell that's coming off of their food.
I've eaten
that make sense?
Subway sandwiches. I don't anymore, but I have eaten them, and they're normal tasting food. They taste like food items
It's nothing special.
for human consumption. The smell coming out of the shop smells like some industrial.
Yeah, I think
thing.
it probably is, right? They probably figured out some way to like pipe this thing that smells like bread. I guess
It doesn't
right?
smell like bread to me.
What is it? Yeah, it's like maybe
Industrial byproduct.
Yeah. I could see that for sure.
I don't
But people love
understand.
that smell.
Wait, really?
I'm sure. Well, I'm guessing. Subway is extremely popular.
I understand it's extremely popular. I also think it's very cheap, probably, and it's probably very cheap to run and all that
I mean, I
as a
haven't-
business model. Blah
I
blah
haven't
blah.
really eaten there.
But-
Like, van tours, that was like, you had to stop there because
Especially the vegetarians.
exactly. Yeah.
$5 footlongs.
Boy, I hated that fucking place.
Okay, so but I have some questions for you because I know that you like to start off with a question.
Okay, shoot.
So my question for you is: would you rather have one gun that shoots one bullet, or an Uzi that shoots 1,000 bullets per second?
Well, okay, well, what would you do, Dee?
I'm saying that if I were a cop, I would have an Uzi.
Well, but I'm saying that the police force would never issue you an Uzi, so now
that's
what?
not
her point,
That's not what we're
though.
talking about. That's not my. Thank you, Charlie.
See, we jumped in seemingly towards the tail end of this conversation they were having,
Mhm.
and Dee did mention being a cop.
Yeah.
So my gut instinct is to be like, well, cops are the last people that should have Uzis.
Okay, fair enough.
But if it was me,
Mhm.
of course I would want an Uzi.
Okay, let's just push a little bit further. If you were a cop, would you want an Uzi?
I would
Nice. Okay, no, but I have a real question. Because that is not, so if you had a cop themed restaurant, what would you call it?
A cop themed restaurant.
I say that because I should have set this up better, but there's a promo pic for this episode or the season in which Dee is like playing out the fantasy question. She's dressed like a cop with an Uzi in Dynasties.
Right. I think it's from a deleted scene.
Or maybe it's the deleted scene. I
Yeah.
know it was out there, but we didn't see it.
Right. Bird cop.
And it looks
Totally. I know.
like,
Yeah.
it looks like she's like dressed up like either as a stripper, maybe
Right.
stripper cop, or a server cop.
Yeah.
So,
It's got like if a Hooters waitress was a cop vibe.
exactly. So that's where I went with the cop themed restaurant.
I
and
gotta,
couldn't
hang
think
on,
of a
I gotta
name.
think about this. Handcuffs.
And
Because it's like, a sexual thing.
okay, good cop, bad food.
No, yeah. That's a slippery slope, but it sounds great.
Good food, bad cop.
Yeah. Good food. Well, yeah, because you don't want to stray too far from like one or the other of the good cop, bad cop. Because I was gonna say, wait, no, never mind. That's stupid.
Yeah, anything you talk about, like I was thinking food, price, time, like good food,
big
bad
boobs.
time.
Because then you're just totally away from it at that point.
Yeah. You need the good thing.
But if you had like a
bad thing.
picture or something, I mean, cuffs wouldn't be bad.
Cuffs, okay. Actually, if you did cuffs, you could do like two handcuffs. You couldn't really do it in the.
Like
It doesn't have
fuzzy
two
ones.
O's, but they could be breasts,
see
like
it.
the Hooter eyes.
Totally.
It's like, no, these are totally owl eyes. Maybe if my cult thing doesn't work out, I could open a restaurant.
I think in addition to.
What if is there a male equivalent? Is there like a Dicksterant?
I've never seen one.
Cocksterant?
Peniserant?
Penisterant?
Penisterant.
I guess I'm opening it in Europe. Well,
Penisterant.
Come on, do a beautiful show. It's gonna be awesome. Some other musical stuff.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to yet another episode of It's Always Stockholm in Los Angeles. My name is Nate Harold. I am literally here with Will Noon.
literally. I would like you to bamp yourself, and we could say this is an episode of It's Always Stockholm in Stockholm.
Today we are talking about Season 7, Episode 5 of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, Frank's Brother. Written by David Hornsby, directed by...
Matt Shackman.
Thank you. This is a flashback episode.
Many flashbacks.
Almost entirely flashbacks.
Yeah, this is a weird one.
Yeah, because you can't really talk about alliances in this.
Yeah, the gang does nothing but kind of like improv some reaction lines.
I'm going to jump in for a second because it sounds like you're about to launch into a whole thing. Is it going to take a long time?
If you were in the main cast on a show and you were going through the scripts for the season and you saw one where you had like 3 lines in it, would you be psyched or upset?
I'm going to
neither.
guess that I would be both psyched and upset because I'm really all I've known in my adult life was just like playing drums. So when there would be an acoustic set, I would be psyched because I'd have the day off or the event off. Because usually, I don't know, as a drummer, I just want to smash the drums.
Of course.
And acoustic things are like low energy. And when they want me to like play a tambourine or play
Oh,
a
yeah, that's the
cajon
worst,
or
right?
like, they're like, oh, we could get you like a bongo or something. And I'm like, shoot me in the face with an Uzi 1,000 times in 1 second. So that the excitement would be the day off, but the dread and disappointment would be if they wanted me to actually be there and like force me in, and then I'd feel like my least favorite feeling is when people are just like including me to include me. And
Right. You're in the band, so you have to be there.
so
but
like,
you're-
but I don't care. Like
Yeah.
I'm okay with being left out. I've played 200 shows this year, so I don't blah blah blah. So the whole gang is there, but they're not doing much. But I guess in their minds, or like they're probably not there for every shot. Well, I guess maybe Mac is. I don't know, or Rob.
Yeah, probably.
Is he on set?
He's-
Like,
Yeah, he's probably on set a decent amount. Probably not all the time, but
so for maybe Charlie, Dennis, and Dee, or their respective real human names, I think they'd be stoked because they probably weren't there for any of the club scenes.
right.
So and I'm assuming that whole, that was like a day, maybe an afternoon of reaction shots, and then
Yeah,
one
exactly.
scene in the Philly airport, and that was probably like 5% of the normal amount of work.
I mean, I will say that they're time-wise, they're not in the episode that much, but their role is pretty funny in it, in that they're like impatient and unimpressed, annoyed by most everything.
You know, our generation, it's like,
Yeah.
Yeah, you want to make it funny or
give
something?
it some flair.
Yeah.
Okay.
And also their reactions to some of the language that they use is pretty funny.
Yeah, I think they are being used as not a scapegoat, but they're allowed to make the like off-color, like slightly racist, slightly sexist, slightly whatever jokes
Mhm.
from Frank's perspective, but they react in a way that they're acknowledging it.
Yes.
So they still get the laugh from the person who thinks the dumb joke is funny, but then they avoid the heat of someone thinking like, hey, you can't say that.
Right.
Because they literally 2 seconds later say, hey, you can't say that.
Yeah, there's one particular word that, yeah,
Yeah.
which I don't think I'd ever heard before. We don't have to talk about it.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
We really covered the opening scene. It's a classic cold open. Has nothing to do with anything.
But it's great.
Again, I've said it before. Like I really wish I knew what they were talking about. Like what led to that. It seems like it would be funny.
Yes, but
Maybe it's funnier that
I
we
think
don't.
you are probably well aware of like that's the point, and that's the most
of course,
effective use
yeah.
of it. Like
Yeah.
that's
Frank making the hoagie in his mouth.
Oh, that's a classic right
Doesn't-
there.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like. I mean, it probably looks crazy. I'm not denying that, but like, it probably tastes the same.
You are not eating a hoagie. You are just jamming meats and cheeses inside of your mouth.
I like to make it in my mouth. It tastes better.
It works.
It works. You've done it.
I mean, have you ever had charcuterie before you became
Yeah.
vegan?
Okay. Yeah. Sure. Same thing.
I've literally put meat and cheese on a cracker.
Hello, welcome to the podcast, Clementine Fandango, and there she goes.
Our latest guest.
Yeah. I mean, how long is the episode going until Gino walks in? 20 seconds. Something
maybe.
like that. Yeah.
Maybe in real time. Also, I just want to clarify, like, is there any point in which we see his name written as Gino?
No, we only hear it.
I'm fully convinced that Danny DeVito says Cheeto when he walks in.
He also has a mouthful of hoagie.
Cheeto.
I hear the word Cheeto.
Cheeto. Well, maybe it was a flub. Maybe it was like an inside joke. Gino, played by the great John Polito. John Polito has been in a bunch of stuff. He was in a film that I loved as a child called The Rocketeer. Now Clem is getting up on the bed for those. Nope, she's getting on Will's lap. She's going to lick his leg. John Polito's been in a million things. The Rocketeer, The Crow, Gangster Squad, Barton Fink, The Big Lebowski.
Getting this? Are we getting this?
I wish there was a video component to this. She's very excited. I have been rewatching Seinfeld, as I think I mentioned. He was the landlord in Seinfeld that busts Newman and Kramer for doing the reverse peephole.
Yeah, I'm reversing my peephole.
Hey, you know, you gotta get permission from me. I'm the super. Who said you could do that?
Who says I can do any of the things I do in my place?
Like what?
Well, like, nothing. Well,
So people can see if they're home or not?
They need to know if they're walking into an ambush when they come home. They
Oh,
can see in.
sick.
Yeah.
Love it.
Passed away in 2016, but he has a large filmography.
Yeah, I did zero research on him because I figured either everyone would know him or you would do it.
Yeah, he's great. I mean, I feel like even if you don't know the specific things that he was in, you recognize him.
Instantly recognizable.
Yeah. As far as him being Frank's brother, I guess they're bald.
They're both bald. Italian?
Yeah. There's a great little quick bit about Frank told Dennis and Dee that he died.
Yeah, what gives, Frank? You told us your brother was dead.
Yeah, you said that he had his guts sucked out of his asshole through a hot tub drain.
Have we seen that yet? Or no?
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like it's coming up.
If you
at
had to
some point.
say that your uncle, tell your kids your uncle is dead, you're never going to meet him. How'd he die? It's pretty creative. It's
Yeah.
pretty good. It's pretty insulting.
He got,
also,
he
like
got his
you know,
asshole sucked out in a
Yeah.
pool drain. Yeah. I think Mac becomes very afraid of that.
Guys, I almost forgot. Do not go near the pool drains, no matter how good you might think they feel on your butt.
wow.
You do not sit on those. You know, because of the suction on your butthole.
One thing that this show does exceptionally well, especially in today's climate, is the de-aging.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if you saw The Irishman, the Martin Scorsese movie that came out on Netflix.
I don't watch anything by Martin Scorsese.
Okay. Well,
Martin Lawrence? Yes.
they de-aged a lot of those guys, like specifically Robert De Niro, and it just looked weird. Like his face looked younger. He also looked like he was in a video game.
It was digital, I assume.
Right. And also, you can't de-age someone's body if they're walking around. So he's like supposed to be a 28-year-old tough guy, and he has arthritis. Like
Right.
he's moving like an old man.
And he's like a giant rectangle, like a big brick house, sort of like
Right. Right.
Not a scrawny little 28-year-old. Yeah.
Exactly. So the de-aging in this episode is the wigs. And that's it.
Yeah.
I mean, Frank does kind of embody a younger spirit.
He is a good actor in a in
Yeah,
a
right?
surprising way.
He's so enthusiastic, and also he's moving like an old man, but he's like moving pretty quick.
How would you like to work here?
Would I ever? I love the music, sir.
He's just a kid. How old are you, boy?
19?
I feel like he always surprises me in the show when he's being his normal old self. I think he just has a great spirit,
Totally. Yeah. Absolutely.
It just works well when you put a wig on him because he's like an active, brightly old guy.
It's also good to get a little bit of lore as to why Frank wears that hairpiece that I believe debuts in the Pecan Sandies.
Right, because it looks exactly
'Cause
like...
that's what he used to look like.
Yeah.
Or maybe we're led to believe that that's because they're telling the story to the gang.
Right.
So maybe we're seeing the gang's interpretation of that.
I
So
thought-
they recognize Frank wearing the wig that they've seen him in, and
Mm.
therefore that's what he looks like.
I thought, interesting. Yeah, I guess I thought the reaction that they have at the end to the way everyone looks, and
Everyone's fat.
everyone's kind of like, at that point, we maybe think maybe the flashback wasn't as realistic.
Yeah.
Maybe- but I thought that was more Frank. That's how Frank describes himself.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like that's how he sees himself.
Either way, it's a funny thing to
Right.
call back
Yeah.
to his hairpiece. And then he wears it again later, like when him and Charlie go out on their anniversary date to Gugino's,
Yeah, he wears it all the time.
wearing the same piece. Yeah, so it's kind of a weird story that how Frank gets his start in the club business. Gino's a bookie. Reggie, played by Lance Reddick, comes up
Right.
short, and his favor that he has to return is to give Frank a busboy job.
Right.
And it also seems believable that Frank would be like a big jazz music fan in his youth.
Mm-hmm.
He was going to be at the club anyway, so you might as well eat pork chops off the plate in the kitchen.
Yeah, this episode is a highlight specifically because of Frank's eating.
Yeah, it's always good.
In addition to the making a hoagie in your mouth,
Right.
got at least 2 pork chop scenes.
Yeah, maybe this is the episode that he's eating the most.
Yeah,
You got 2 pork chops, and then I'm not sure what that fruit is. He's in
a
Colombia.
papaya.
Papaya?
Yeah,
Immersing myself in the culture. Taking in the cuisine.
really goes to town.
Yeah, he's I don't know. I guess it's still the penguin, right?
Yeah, again,
It's-
very very penguin-esque.
Yeah, he just has that ability to eat like an animal. Lance Reddick, everyone knows who Lance Reddick is. He's awesome. Been in a bunch of stuff.
So many things.
The Wire, Oz, Lost, the recently canceled Resident Evil series on Netflix.
Ooh, I feel like, does he always play like a scientist?
Well, he was a cop in The Wire.
A scientist cop?
Not really a scientist, no. And in Lost,
Is he in
was
forensics by any chance?
not really.
That's the
He's
closest thing
he's
I
a
could,
lieutenant.
the closest thing I could get to a scientist
Yeah,
cop.
yeah. He looks like he's smart. I guess that's what it is, right?
Yeah. I just
Uh,
picture him with glasses, but maybe that's because I've seen him in maybe Lost. He had glasses, and that's kind of the only thing.
Right. He voiced Zavala in a video game that I like called Destiny. He's perfect for it.
Yeah, he's like a surprisingly good, not surprisingly good actor, but in this episode, his acting is surprisingly good compared to Frank and Gino, who are like comic, like
slapsticky.
slapstick. Yeah, exactly.
Right. Yeah, I was gonna say that the one thing that stood out to me about Lance Reddick's performance is that I believe it's his second appearance when he's upset with Sha Dynasty.
Are you out of your goddamn mind?
I saw you with her.
Bitch, if I want to be with another one, I'll be with another one.
Well, bitch.
It's weird to see Lance Reddick like that because I feel like in every other role he's like calm, collected.
Right.
And so it's cool to see him, step out a little bit. And it's very believable.
Yeah, again, juxtaposed with a super
True.
comical everything else.
Boy, do I ever.
Yeah. Yeah, he's really great. Also, can we just talk about his arc?
Yeah,
It's
incredible arc. He's been through a lot.
He, at first,
He runs the club, right?
yeah, he runs the club, and then when Frank and Gino open their club, and Frank's dating Dynasty. He comes up and then like says that he's, you think he's gonna get violent with Frank, but he doesn't.
I'm working on my temper. But know that I strongly disagree with this.
So good.
Yeah.
But yeah, then he gets 6 years in prison for being beaten with a bat.
For being beaten.
And then a similar situation, he comes back after Frank. Wait, maybe I got those two
No, you're right.
wrong.
You're right.
Why does he come back?
The first time it's when Frank and Dynasty are together,
Right.
and Frank and Gino have the club. That's when he comes back and goes to shake his hand, gets hit by
Right.
the baseball bat.
But then Frank and I guess it's just when he gets out of jail.
He gets out of jail and he's
The
a Black
new
Panther.
club. Oh, the new club maybe is like. That's when he finds out what his brother's doing.
Gino's
selling coke.
selling drugs in the community.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's when Reggie comes back as
Hakeem Muhammad.
Hakeem Muhammad. And
It's a goddamn petition. What the hell?
I thought he was pulling a gun.
that reaction is the only time he comes out of it a little bit and goes to like comedy.
Yeah.
Like, it was just a petition.
Yeah.
But he again goes to jail for being shot.
Yeah.
It is just rough stuff.
What they're like? Wait, Reggie went to jail for longer than you when you beat him with a baseball bat, and like, why is that?
He was black.
Those were the days.
One of the best lines in this episode is the discussion of those were the days.
You sound like you yearn for those days, Frank.
No, we're just saying those were the days.
Yeah, but I think it's sort of important how it was phrased because I think he easily could have said that was the time, those were the times, or that's how it was at the time.
Right.
But instead he said those were the days because that is a phrase, I guess literally, if you didn't know anything about cultural, like, an indication of anything, it would be fine. But that's a phrase that is used to specifically harken back to times that you are fondly reminiscing about.
Exactly.
So yeah, that, and then yeah.
So it's right to question the way that it's being worded.
Exactly.
D is right to question that, and Frank's response still leaves plenty of ambiguity.
He even doubles down on it. He might say it again. He's like, I'm just saying those were the days. But yeah, that's, as I was saying earlier, that's just, this episode seems to be a lot of like them saying questionable things, or them being Frank, basically.
Right.
The gang-
Them being the age that Frank is, that generation.
Right.
Yeah.
The lines were written with those inappropriate jokes.
Right.
The gang reacts to make sure everyone's aware of their self-awareness.
Right.
And then
Exactly.
Which is a little bit of cheating, kind of, but
it's a little cheap, I think.
Yeah.
A little like heavy-handed, maybe.
Right.
But I mean, I don't know how else you're gonna squeeze the gang in to this episode. Like, as their only job, it's understandable.
And they are balancing a fine line that we see 7 years later, that it is not always easy to balance, because we see the after effects, like when you become too self-aware,
right,
of the wokeness and the politically correctness and self-awareness.
Yes, yeah, it can easily go wrong.
Yeah.
Ugh.
And then, so continuing the Reggie thread out of chronological order, at the airport,
right,
the same thing happens. I have a few questions.
Hopefully this isn't one of your questions.
Hopefully it
is. It because of his name? Are we led to believe?
That's one of my questions.
Okay, yeah.
Mr. Muhammad,
Yeah?
your name came up on a no-fly list. I need you to come with us.
Oh, hell no.
Is it a funny, bad, not funny, but societal whatever joke or question of the mistreatment of black people? Because that's the third time this has happened, as like someone who shouldn't be, in trouble is in trouble. Or is it the modern day equivalent? Like, are they saying that like this is happening still today in a very similar way?
I think it's that one, but both work.
Right.
So I guess it's well written.
Yeah. One of my other questions was this actor, now Mike Ivey, who is playing the role of
Correct.
Hakeem Muhammad. Does it look like he's wearing aging makeup? In my opinion, he looks like someone else in makeup, but I know he's not. I sort of looked it up, and I feel like I've seen him before. He's been in very few, but other
He's
things.
been in some comedy stuff.
It looks like he has like a fake, like prosthetic cheeks and face and like a nose and.
my instinct would be no. Maybe that's just how he looks.
I think that's how he looks,
But they do comment on how everyone looks, so I guess it's not out of the question.
Reggie? Whoa, everyone's a lot fatter than I was expecting them to be.
But Sha Dynasty just looks like a normal old lady, like an old, like middle-aged woman. Anyway,
Yeah,
I think that's just me.
Speaking of Mike Ivy, when I Googled it, I Googled Mike Ivy, and the first result is Ivy Mike.
Oh, yeah.
It was the code name given to the full-scale test of a thermonuclear device in
Was
which
that in 1952?
part of the yield comes from nuclear fission. Anyways,
Wait, is it fission or fusion? I thought it was fusion.
fusion. Did I say fission?
Yeah, you did.
Okay, fusion.
We
Sorry.
haven't cracked that nut yet.
I was looking at that, and then I was looking down to the most important aspect of it. The test series is called
Operation Ivy.
What a fun little coincidence that was.
Yeah.
For a couple old guys like us. Yeah, Mike Ivy, I think I saw the Between Two Ferns movie, and I think that's his most recent credit.
Mm-hmm.
Zach Galifianakis thing. He was in the Sarah Silverman program, Lucky Louie. But
That's pretty good.
he has one job in this episode, and he nails it.
He does a very
Ain't this some shit?
Reggie-esque line.
Yeah.
Ain't this some shit?
Probably important to talk about Sha Dynasty.
Oh, yeah, big time.
Played by Boy. Don't know how to say that first name. Naturi?
Naturi
Naughton.
Naturi Naughton.
Do you know anything about her?
I was never familiar with 3LW, but I know that is the act that she was performing with in
She was a singer.
mid-90s? Late 90s?
Oh, wow. I didn't know it was
Early
that long ago.
90s?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was I think it was like prime 90s era, which I thought was pretty funny because just reading up a little bit on that, I think they had one album. They were working on their second. They maybe got a single, but the record didn't really happen. She was forced out of the band. And according to Wikipedia, she left because of an argument that allegedly ended with, quote unquote, Williams, last name of one of the other artists, throwing a hot plate full of KFC food at Naughton.
Oof. Wow.
So yeah, she was ejected, and that was like the argument that led to it. But she had a bunch of stuff. She became an actress.
Mm-hmm.
Are you familiar with any of her work?
Let me look.
She played Lil' Kim in Notorious.
Okay. I could see that.
If you're familiar
Yeah.
with that. She also played Denise in the new remake of Fame.
Okay. Didn't see it.
But it seems
I know of it.
popular, right?
Yeah.
She also had a role in I think it was an NBC show called The Playboy Club. She played a Playboy bunny that was the first black centerfold. So that was a big deal.
Interesting.
But apparently that didn't do so well and it was canceled after 3 episodes.
Wow. That's pretty quick.
Yeah. So, sorry, Notori. Oh, she was also in, I guess they brought back a supergroup called Queen for a TV show.
Did they know of the other group called Queen?
Oh, sorry. I think this is called Queens.
Queens.
Plural.
Okay.
My bad.
I take it back.
My bad. Queens. And it was her, I think it was her and Brandy and Eve and somebody else that I didn't recognize.
Sounds powerful.
But yeah, it was all like very 90s oriented R&B kind of people.
Sick.
And they had a video that was called Nasty Girls or Nasty Girl. And you might want to watch it right now because it is pretty nasty.
Excuse me, ma'am. Where we going?
Ma'am.
Whoa. What?
So rich, she blew up her house.
Is that a reference to Lisa Left Eye Lopez?
Did she light her house on fire?
She burned down her boyfriend's house.
Maybe.
Famously.
I actually didn't think she did a great job, or I don't know if that was her singing.
I guess before I knew that she was a singer, I guessed that she was lip syncing.
I didn't think the vocal performance was great.
Yeah. I mean, if we're talking about mid-90s pop R&B groups, you know, they usually weren't all known for their singing. You had like a couple in the group.
Really? Oh. Well, I guess if you have multiple people, you...
Right. You like leaned on the power,
one or
Destiny's
two.
Child.
Are you saying that is Lisa Left Eye Lopez in that band?
TLC. Okay. Lisa Left Eye Lopez was the rapper in TLC.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, so, you know, she's fine.
She didn't have to sing.
Yeah. But I thought she did a pretty good job with this role of She Dynasty.
Oh, yeah, she was
she
great.
She has some really funny bits, specifically when Frank makes her choose between a life with Gino and drugs or him.
Drugs! I choose drugs! Drugs!
She said drugs!
She chooses the drugs.
And it's good. That whole scene is hilarious because it's like the music is too loud, so they have to repeat a bunch of
Right.
stuff. And it's like overly complicated and
Yeah.
like not super smooth. And yeah, she gets to say it a couple times, and it's very funny.
Yeah, that whole bit is really good because it sort of reminds it. There's like a sense of realness,
Definitely,
and
yeah,
it
yeah.
makes me like slightly anxious or miserable or whatever, being like, oh right, I hate clubs
when you
and
have to repeat everything.
everything's loud. I hate having discussion in a loud place.
I was just thinking of how weird it must be to film something like that because
When
you're
it's
you're just
silent?
yelling. Yeah, they do a pretty good, believable job.
Right.
If I did it, I would be doing it wrong.
You'd be yelling wrong.
Yeah, I'd be yelling wrong because there's
Somehow.
no music playing, and like
Yeah.
you have to think about it, get in your head.
Maybe someone is yelling at you, and maybe it would make sense. You could
Right.
follow their lead.
Right.
But yeah, I also her attitude in this one. Maybe it makes sense for her character, but she seems so sweet and nice, and you know that I like nice people.
Of course.
So the first 3 scenes she's in, I think she seems great. But then in that like
When the
70s
70s hit.
jumpsuit, drugs, she seems really like shitty and annoying. She seems like a worse person.
I think that's the point, right?
Yeah, like
yeah,
if it was done, like she does a good job of making me dislike her.
yeah. She loses a bit of her like kind spirit
Mhm.
while the little bird is away from the stove. You know, she gets into some trouble and
Right.
walks down the wrong path. Maybe.
The little birdie can't come home on account of the attempted murder.
Like when Frank's driving her home, it just seems so. It seems like the 50s. It
Yeah,
seems like
yeah,
so
yeah,
nice
yeah,
and like
yeah.
quaint and wholesome. And then yeah, the 70s, like yeah,
Yeah, I guess I was thinking about that because like if you had like a jazz club, wouldn't that more be like the 50s and not the 60s?
yeah. I guess there is a weird
Whatever.
thing. Although maybe that's just our perception of it because of what like maybe that was like the new thing that was coming up, and because it was new, it was newsworthy, like kind of in a sense.
Sure. Yeah.
But you don't hear about all the classic holdovers and like where you grew up. Like sometimes things take a while to get from the coast in. and,
Absolutely.
Like so,
Absolutely.
I don't know. Maybe there were plenty of people in the 90s still rocking mullets and
Definitely. Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
like teased hair
Makes-
and
I mean,
whatnot.
they're in Philly.
Pretty coastal, but
Yeah. Anyways, speaking of She Dynasty, I would also just like to quickly mention my MVP of this episode, which is not a person, it is a neon sign.
yeah.
And the guy who reacts to it.
Shady nasties?
Your dynasties, asshole.
I would say like just the whole as like a concept, like as a
It's
bit.
so
Whoever
funny.
wrote that bit was pretty good.
It's so fucking funny. And then the like, is that how you spell it?
It's like not sure.
Oh God, it's so
Did
good.
they not check with her?
Shady Nasties is a very funny thing.
It's such a good, and it's also a reveal that I'm not even thinking about because I know the bit and I know how good it is. So when I hear She Dynasty, I immediately smile and think Shady Nasty. But if you were, very few people probably thought that on first view of this.
Yeah,
episode.
you wouldn't even think about it. You wouldn't have
You
any
just be
clue that it was coming.
Dynasty is a, it seems like a name, like an interesting name that you might give someone.
Yeah.
But then to do Dynasty, like is like, sort of a prefix that people add to names.
Sure. Yeah.
It might be a stretch, but it works.
Totally.
But to be Shady Nasty.
And for it to be a neon.
Right.
Oh,
It's not just a painted sign that you could paint over.
right.
or,
Right. Yeah. You're kind of stuck with that. Around the same time is probably my favorite bit, I guess, in this episode, which is where Frank's talking about how, Gino turned his club into this like drug den.
Mhm.
It's like a montage of Gino partying, and it kind of ends with him dancing with 2 guys.
Mhm.
And then he like jumps in and like interjects.
I never danced with no guys.
Maybe you did, maybe you didn't.
Yeah, that's a throwback, not specifically to this, but in general, but to the Halloween recounts.
Right.
Where someone's telling the story and D comes in as an ostrich or
Right.
an
She's
emu or
she's
something.
Literally a bird.
A giant bird.
Right.
I think that's it could be a cheap shot or, whatever, but the individual polarized flashbacks are something I enjoy.
Yeah, it's a fun, like, easy way to get a bunch of jokes in.
Yeah.
Because I mean, if you're telling a story about someone you don't like,
They're the worst.
you could embellish it. Yeah.
And you come out looking like the angel. I feel like Dee and Dennis kind of do that to themselves.
I guess there's sort of a like Frank Reynolds origin story thing, if we're led to believe.
It's a very huge origin story. It's like that changed everything. Like
You see him become Frank.
right, he was not depraved before that.
He was a sweet kid who loved jazz music.
Yeah, exactly. And he wanted to like settle down with this woman at like 21 years old
He
or
had
something.
a wedding ring or an engagement ring,
Right.
ready to go.
Yeah. And but like the warthog. Like
Yeah.
I want to hear more about that, but
Right.
like it seems like that's what happened in,
Yeah, this
got
turn of
hooked on
events
drugs.
is extremely important to his trajectory.
Yeah, because he loves drugs now.
Still does.
But maybe maybe I guess that's where it like was set off. But then he came back and it seemed like he was sort of ready to get clean and go back with Shah Dynasty. But
And then he had his heart broken.
The heartbreak, yeah.
Yeah.
Then he was just
Their plan for getting Frank away from the trouble that he's in back in Philly is pretty good. So Gino has a drug smuggling ring, I guess, and
I
Frank,
think it's just his supplier.
Frank moves into a shack to become the tester, quality control.
Quality control.
I was quality control for his Colombian cocaine connection.
Do you think Gino did that on purpose to corrupt
No.
and like get him hooked on drugs and get him stuck down there?
I think that if he had any control, well, I mean, he did get him a job
True.
with Reggie, so
True.
I think that he sent them down there maybe to keep him down there because it would probably be hard to extricate himself from like once you're in like the services of a South American drug cartel. But it didn't seem like he had the foresight to steal Shah Dynasty. I think it was more like he's gone. I own the club. Like, Frank had a good life. Maybe I'll just do this.
Yeah. And then he gets Shah Dynasty hooked and
Yeah.
that's it.
And then when he comes back, certainly he doesn't want him to be around. So,
Right.
But yeah, I think it was probably brotherly.
Yeah, because Gino didn't seem like a great guy at the beginning. Like,
Mhm.
he is still doing good things. He's getting Frank a job, and he's working with Reggie. He's a bookie, so you'd think he's like breaking
Break the
people's
legs.
legs and stuff. But he's just like he's pretty chill about it. But yeah, as the '70s come and the drugs come in, everyone changes.
Yeah.
Everyone becomes more like self-absorbed and.
Yeah, because originally he was a bookie. Maybe bookies are a step up from drug dealers on the ladder.
Probably, yeah, I would say so.
Yeah, so maybe he's just like sinking lower and lower into the little underworld.
Yeah, he's not like destroying communities.
Mm.
He's just destroying individuals' lives.
Frank, Reggie, Shah
Right.
Dynasty.
Exactly. Frank and Gino go bald around the same time, I guess.
Well,
Nice little
according
bit.
to Gino.
You bald son of a bitch! I was born before you were born! You son of a bitch!
Yeah, like much like the hoagie,
Yeah.
Frank is copying him. I suppose a sort of important bit is the last scene in this episode and how incredibly rude they are to Shah Dynasty and Reggie as they see like the true life versions of these stories they just heard.
They being the gang.
Yes.
Yeah. They say within earshot that
Right.
these people are way fatter than they thought. And
I don't see a black woman anywhere.
No, I mean, there's her, but
That's her!
What? Really? That is not at all what I was picturing.
No.
no, right?
Yeah, how would you feel if you were like getting cast in a show and they're like, we're going to call you fat and ugly? Or do they even talk about that? Do you just get there and shoot your scenes and you don't know what other people are saying?
right. My mind is spinning into a Nathan Fielder kind of world of like, could that be a weird reality-ish fake show where you cast someone in something, they have a small part, and then they see like the first cut of it somehow, which maybe they shouldn't as a small bit actor, but maybe they do somehow because they make friends with somebody and they leak them like the first edit and it's just all ripping on this one character
And they don't,
for their physical appearance.
They're learning this as it's already been shot.
Right, because they don't know, they didn't see the, That would be interesting to see people's reactions.
Yeah, I'm just curious because it happens a lot. I feel like in television and movies that the characters are ripping on another character, but like that's how they look, or that's
Yeah, they're
like,
not wearing makeup or
right.
anything. Yeah, or like, how do you feel like the opposite side? Not nearly as bad, but what if you were cast and you read your lines and you were just supposed to be very, very mean and shitty to a person, to a character based on their character, but their character's also similar to
right.
the actor.
You would do it, and you would profusely apologize to the person after the scene is done.
Yeah, like how does that? Do you do that and then make it more weird for everyone, or do you just do it and you're
That's
like,
your
I'm
job.
a professional. Like I'm in the next scene, I'm going to stab someone.
Yeah.
So my character is a bad person doing bad things. Those things happen.
Yeah, I don't know how
That's it.
actors do it. I don't know. I don't know what the rules are with that, or if there are rules. Probably not.
Yeah, how do you deal with it? Yeah.
Will Noon,
Yep.
you got a letter grade for Frank's brother.
How do you say A+ in Swedish?
A
Plus?
plus.
A plus. Well, it's just a generic thing that I always do, but I don't think this episode was as good as some of the others in this season. It has a lot of things that are stuck in my brain, like such as making a hoagie in my mouth and Show Dynasty,
of course,
as a general concept. And then it has the Reggie bit, which is wonderful, but it wasn't as good, I think, on the watch because there wasn't a ton of the gang.
Very, very little.
Gino is a great John Polito or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
He's a great actor, but I don't think he's like at his peak. And like the Frank and Gino banter isn't like the best. That's not like my favorite. It almost seems a little like not so Always Sunny-ish.
For
like
sure.
the type of bits and the type of banters.
Absolutely.
So upon watch, it's not as good as I remember, but it also like it has those nuggets that stay with you. So that's what I'm really appreciating
For sure.
and drawing upon.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, I feel basically the exact same. I'm going to give it a B+.
Higher than I thought from you, to be honest.
Yeah, it's great. Like you said, John Polito, Lance Reddick, like all those guys are great, and I totally get that by season 7, you really start looking for ways of changing it up.
Yeah.
Doing a different kind of episode. Like this is a almost purely flashback episode. And in that sense, it's very well done because I feel like there's ways of doing that are not as funny as they did in this episode. Very little of the gang, so it doesn't really feel like Sunny. I guess at least they're in the bar, so that like grounds it a little bit in the show. I mean, Frank is an amazing character, but we just met Gino, so it seems a little jarring that
he's in it so much.
He's in it. He's one of the main characters, if not the main character. Like Frank is probably the main character, but yeah. So it's great. I totally appreciate what they're doing, but this season is just so strong that it would be hard to compare this in a fair way to the other episodes.
Yeah.
That's
Cool.
where I stand.
I like where you stand.
Great. With that,
we'll bid you adieu.
Goodbye.
Hej då. That's Swedish for fuck you.
Brought to you by the Natty and Noon Network.